Hey friends, work in the studio, and I just thought I'd take a moment to um, hang out with you, I guess. The internet is down, and I was watching something really fun. I don't even want to tell you what it was. I'd be so embarrassed if you knew what I was watching. Total frivolity. But it's raining outside, and I think that something happened to the Wi-Fi, which has kind of been a little bit of a blessing. So I've spent the last about 45 minutes or so in a mindfulness practice and revelry, and I thought I could take this as a moment to share with you guys what I'm working on, and kind of the vessel that I have come up with and we have grown to love. So these are a bunch of large mugs that I'm making right now. I do about 1.5 pounds. I really love doing large mugs because, as you can see, I have large hands, so working with more clay is actually feels more in my wheelhouse, so to speak. I'll show you what some of these look like. Here is a nice tray of some finished pieces. As you can see, being handmade, they're all a little bit different, you know? And I want to talk a little bit about that right now. And also how it is that I've come up with this vessel. There's the dimple, and I love the way that I do the foot. It's so efficient and non-wasteful. You can see that the spiral on the inside, that actually has a lot of meaning for me as well. And I was just thinking of what symbol really reminds us to become more of who we are. Can you think of such a symbol that reminds us to become more of who we are? And I thought, if you have one, please share it with me. I would be really curious to hear that. And if it's something, you know, that's with your religion, I understand that, but I want something that's a little bit more specific, not like because, anyways, I want to stay away from that. I want to have a symbol that reminds us to become more of who we are in a very general manner. Like, so what is that? And for me, I really do believe that this is the closest that I have come yet. And the reason that I love this is because it is a reminder that the spiral is about life, it's about cycles, it expands and also it contracts. It can go in and it can also come out. And the reminder that it gives me is that we are constantly making choices that bring us closer to our target, becoming more of who we are, or we're making choices that distract us from that. We get to make those choices every day, and those choices have a direct impact on the life we lead, the experiences we have, ultimately who we become. So I answered my own question in asking what symbol reminds us to become more of who we are, because it reminds us also that if we aren't working on becoming more of who we are, then inevitably we're being distracted by that. It's very seldom that we accidentally become more of who we are. It's a practice, isn't it? We make choices every day to become more mindful, to have critical reflection, or to seek escapism. A lot of us are in pain, And one of the biggest ways that we come to having self-realization is through painful moments. Oh boy, look at this, is so sexy to me. I just love the process of making these. It is so sensual and joyful. I'm just so grateful that we get to do this together. So the reminder being that, you know, and I want these to be a tactile affirmation for you. That's what I infuse in my practice. I do believe that clay has a memory. Handmade items are very special and unique in that I have spent a lifetime working on coming up with this design and artistic expression and the skills to do this. And then on working with this clay, I have spent hours and many times days or weeks and even as long as months, and some pieces that I just worked on and we just packed up has been in creation for 2 years that I've actually been touching the pieces. So it's really, they carry the energy, the intention, I believe, of the artist and the circumstances, the time. I consider them an artifact of a time and a place. And that's when I fell in love with pottery for the first time. I was traveling all over the world, and one of my favorite things to get was a piece of ceramic in each place, because it just really was infused with the character, the talent, the culture, and the earth of that area, right? And so I really loved collecting pottery from all over the world because it is so unique. You can get a one-of-a-kind piece of artwork that you can even use and is 100% manipulated and touched by the artist. Every part of this has been manipulated, touched, and there's kind of this dance that happens, and that's a part of why I want to talk about how these are all different. Is there's a dance that happens in the process of making these where every piece of clay is going to ask for something different from me. And I can try to force it to be a thing, but where is the love in that? Where's the joy in that, right? Each one of these pieces, we start with an idea in mind, but the handle may speak to me and then we do a different handle. The clay may feel more moist, or it may have an impurity, or there might be a distraction that, creates a new step in this dance that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to explore together. So each one of these carries that as well. And to me, that's really exciting. It carries a sense of life. Even after, so right now these pieces have not been fired. I threw them some of them 2 days ago, some of them 3 days ago. And then I tooled the foot, which is making the bottom nice and smooth like that, which I love the way it works really nice on a heating pad. It is the way to waste the least amount of clay, which I just love that as well. And it keeps the piece light, and it just has a sense of real, authentic efficiency to me. And I love having some efficiency in the artwork. If you think about poems, we try to say as much as we can with the least amount of words, and that's how we know a really good poem. I try to do the same thing with my work. I want these to be, in a sense, very simple, and at the same time, very sophisticated or deep. So, for instance, this is a handle. There's a lot of ways to do a handle, but the main effect and the main thing about a handle is the function of it. Is the vessel, it needs to hold things, and you need to be able to hold it, and that's where the handle comes into play. And I want the handle to be strong. I want you to be able to trust this handle. I want you to be able to bump it against things, and this handle is not going to break off because it's robust. It's made as strong and firm and trustworthy as possible without becoming gross or, ridiculous. So the same thing with the clay walls of the mug. I throw the walls of the mug in what I believe is a very elegant thinness. I want the walls to function as being able to carry the vessel without the water or liquid, without being very heavy. I want the weight of this to really be because of the liquid inside. And so I throw the walls nice and thin. It's a more joy to, I believe, sip from a thinner rim. You're not going to have, it's just so much easier, isn't it? So I just like to have the thin walls, and then the handle I like to be nice and strong. And I find so often that's very simple, right? And there's an efficiency and effectiveness in that design. And this little piece here came from one of my very first mistakes, where I had thrown a bunch of mugs. I got a job teaching, and I needed to be just one step ahead of the students. And I was a really good hand builder. And so I spent all my time in the studio just hand building, and never mind throwing the wheel. It was so hard, and I was like, forget it. I can already do beautiful things just molding them with my hands. So I spent all my time doing that, but when I got a job, I knew that I needed to stay just one step ahead of the students. So I locked myself in the studio for the summer. And when I finally, at the end of the summer, I felt like I could finally throw pieces where I could be basically one step ahead of the best student in the class with consistency. And as I was reaching for them, the one that became my favorite, I accidentally put my finger into it and created a dimple like that. And for years, that was my favorite one. And I took some time, years really, to determine that it was not just that it was one of the first ones that I made, but that it was because of that dimple. And in the psychology world, that little dimple has a name. It's called indexing. When you put your finger and you settle in there, or your thumb and you settle in there, then you kind of settle in everywhere. And so I like to consider them in that manner. A tactile affirmation. You become more comfortable in your space, and isn't that where we want to live our life and make all of our decisions from? A place of comfort and of feeling supported and at home. So that's what these I infuse, and is my intention that when you use one of these rogue stoneware mugs, that you will have a moment kind of in between the moments that reminds you of more of who you are, and that you're constantly making decisions to become more of who you are, or to go the opposite direction because of distractions or what have you. And I think that choice becomes totally obvious once we are presented with it. Once we're presented with it, it's the most natural decision to make. But so many of us spend our lives super distracted because we are constantly seeking distraction, because the world can be a painful place. As a matter of fact, I'd say it almost is. A big part of our journey is simply trying to find the grace through all of the challenges and the awkwardness, and celebrate life and the community that we have, and the gifts that we're given, even during all of the mess of life that happens. We all have our hearts broken at some point or another. Whether it be our own expectations of life or a person, all those things. But the key, of course, is to consistently let go, and then let go of that pain, not forget it, but not define ourselves by it, but define ourselves by having the courage and the capacity to trust and love again, enough that we become vulnerable to becoming hurt again. There's no way not to do that. That's what trust is, isn't it? You can't trust fall without the fall part. So, and there's no love without trust. So, we make educated risk assessments all the while, but we need to remember to consistently learn to, or practice really, continue the love, right? And I hope that my pieces remind you of that. I really do. This has become my life's work, and I've always wanted to make a difference. I've always wanted to make a positive difference in the world. I've recognized that we have that choice. We can make a positive difference in the world. We just first have to have that intention, right? And so that being my intention and this being my work, I'm of course marrying those together and bringing you the best mug I can possibly muster. And I put thought into this on a daily basis because this is what I do. And everyone has got to, I've struggled with this not being enough. But the truth is, these things will last 10,000 years. And I don't know whose lives or how this work is going to influence or affect someone. But I like to believe that every person that does get one of these in their lives, it will in some small way. And I do believe that more often than not, the smallest ways are the most powerful ways. Like habit building happens in the most minute way. It's kind of like the boiling of a frog. With consistency, with the slightest amounts of consistency, we change. And like the spiral, we can constantly continue to grow. There's no we just finished growing. We can always go deeper. And this reminds us of that we can continually learn more about who we are and how to bring our gifts to the world, even if it is just making a mug. How can that change the world? I am on the journey to find that out. And I'm grateful that you're on that journey with me if you're watching this video. And I would invite you to think about where in your life can you invite the intention to make the world a better place. Because no matter where you're at right now, you can do that. One of the most profound ways that we can do it, hopefully right now, is by, as I'm doing, is hopefully leading by example, by inspiring. The greatest way to make change in the world, I was a teacher for a lot of years, is to inspire the students, inspire the community. Then they have a fire or a spark inside of themselves that is going to fuel that journey, right? But without that, then they need to consistently and constantly be pushed and redirected. But if you have a spark in your life that is burning on its own, and you are reminded to keep that spark alive, simply because hopefully it feels good, hopefully it's a joyful journey for you, so it is inherently something that you continue to seek on the daily basis. That's what I hope this does for you, in a direct and or an indirect manner. For everyone, this is going to work on different levels because we're all at different places in that journey, right? So these are made for wherever you are in that journey right now. And hopefully you take moments every now and then to appreciate that journey. Just to find the joy in the moment. And for no other reason than to find the joy. That's enough right there. Not just as a way of escaping, but maybe more as a way of finding ourselves. And of course, we don't live there all the time, right? We know that the world is pain, and that there's a great saying, about the path to heaven feels like hell. We've got to work hard for the things that we love, and that's why it's so important to choose something that we love, that has meaning for us. So as I finish this mug right here, I would like to thank you for spending this time with me. And if you have seen our website, or if you have seen us at the farmer's market, or if you have seen us at a pottery party, please spread the word. And remember us when it's gift giving time, because we are a small business, and we have big box stores are our competition. Convenience stores are so convenient, right? We can get right on Amazon these days, and we can order whatever we want at the best price to be delivered to our door. But what you can't find on Amazon is this. You can't find this. Most of that is going to be stuff from China and what my wife and I call suffering, suffer labor, etc. Where if you're not, honestly, if you're not paying more than $40 probably for a cup or a mug, someone or something is suffering in that journey. We're so accustomed to buying plates for $5 to $20 or something like that. And really, to make a nice handmade plate, they should not be priced for anything less than $70. So, and there are countries in Europe especially where everyone has that. Their potters are celebrated parts of their community, not only because it is a craft and an art form that should be kept alive, but there's so many reasons, aren't there? There's the local commerce, there's the joy and love about eating and experiencing handmade, what this conversation began with, right? There's the community, there's about knowing the maker and having dialogue about the pieces. There is not being a part of the problem, not creating more suffering in the world by the way that we're purchasing things. The way we spend our money is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful thing that we can do. And yet we give it very little thought. So I encourage you to purchase local. And of course, not all local is equal either. There are different artists that are on different parts of this journey right here. Some of them are just beginning. And some of them have been doing it for a long time. And as you start to understand the work, you will see the clues for that journey in the pieces. So if you haven't started to explore handmade and presence in your life yet, this is your invitation to do that. My name is Benjamin. My wife and I, Rebecca, are Rogue Stoneware in Southern Oregon. And we want to invite you to join this community of people that are having beauty in their lives, living deeper meaning, and at the same time making the world a better place. That doesn't mean by having more things. It means by having better things. Thanks.